Hey guys, and welcome back to our YouTube channel. Today we're going to be talking about Latin America, and specifically outsourcing, nearshoring, and the role of plastic. So I'm sure you're all well aware of the impact that plastic has on our daily lives, whether it be good or bad. However, the plastic market itself does become quite a bit more interesting the deeper you dive into it. Today we will look at how plastic is an integral element of Latin American business, and also how the ideas of outsourcing and nearshoring make the region perfect as a location for industry, not just plastic, but also for future development in general. So, what does the Latin American plastic industry look like in 2021? Single-use plastic is still common in most parts of the world and is continuing to contribute to the climate crisis, and Latin American nations are attempting to curb this dependence on this sort of product and innovate towards a more sustainable solution. So it's been reported that between 2021 and 2026, the plastics market will grow at a compound annual growth rate of 4.5%, which is enough to show us all that it's a growing industry and one which we need to keep an eye on. Though, having said this, because plastic is used a lot and labour is usually cheap, something we'll come back to in a bit when we talk about nearshoring and outsourcing. What does get recycled is available at low prices and can be repurposed in different regions once it's actually been exported. So let's take an example from the region of PEPSICO, and companies like this are more and more involved in plastic recycling initiatives to set an example sort of from the top down, like in Peru where they work with non-governmental organisations to help open up the access to everyone to recycle more. And in a region where plastic is a huge and still growing industry, to match the growth with recycling education is pretty exciting because it means that sustainability is given an even bigger platform on the global stage. In Latin America, 17,000 tons of plastic is dumped every day into rubbish tips, and so recycling has never been more important than it is now. And perhaps through nearshoring of US companies to Latin America, a mutually beneficial relationship will develop where we'll be able to see new platforms develop to help the crisis in the region, and also the skilled labour that's there for recycling companies to help ensure their projects are completed as well as possible. Today we have two specific examples, one being Argentina, which we'll talk about first. And the worry there has been that a bit bigger than simply plastic being used. This is to say, some plastic items were actually recategorized, which means that throwing them away in the usual way of just chucking it in the bin has become even easier, which kind of means that other countries may well be able to dispose of their unrecycled waste within their borders, harming the people, the animals and the environment, and ultimately creating a negative situation. However, during 2021, the Ministry of Public Space and Urban Hygiene received 4 separate awards down to new initiatives for recycling and the management of waste. So why is this important for you? If you own a business designing systems and software to facilitate smart recycling or initiatives for environmental protection, a country like Argentina where plastic is an issue but is being worked at to be resolved, outsourcing or investing in the nation could perhaps even be the platform that your business needs to succeed both economically as well as environmentally. And a specific example of a company operating in Argentina at the moment to promote this recycling is Unilever, which is a company I'm sure all of us have heard of, and it's involved in Buenos Aires with their green points. And now this may sound confusing. What is a green point? All you do is you take your plastic or recyclable items and you receive a coupon in return which can be used as exchange for their different products, which are made from recycled plastic from the items given at these green points, which creates a positive cycle promoting sustainability and also shows that success is to be found in this sector in Argentina. Our second example is Paraguay, and as with most nations, plastic forms a large part of the Paraguayan economy in terms of export revenue. So meat, plastic and aluminium form the bulk part of this year's products exported overseas from Paraguay, and in the first quarter of the year alone, $426,000 was earned from this. So COVID-19 is partly down to the increase, which is unusual I know, because Paraguayan industry there has been able to somewhat flourish unlike most other countries, meaning your opportunities for investment there are looking pretty good. And new foreign relations for plastic export also mean that Paraguay is becoming at least a regional player in new markets, so branching out from just technology that we've seen in the past on our blog if you've read that, and also showing that Paraguay means business, perhaps in showing us that the investment potential there in recycling and creating systems to solve the single-use plastics problem seems pretty big too. Now, something I've mentioned a fair few times during this is nearshoring, and if you're not sure what it is, it's basically closely related to outsourcing, as it's a good place to start for context. And in manufacturing and IT, many corporations in the United States find issues when they're trying to manufacture their own products and carry out their own services from within their own country. And so many of them will look overseas where opportunities are greater and also the costs are lower. Though referring back to the pandemic and also thinking a bit about geography, distance becomes a decision maker, and where nearshoring also comes into play. And basically the cross-border companies look at a number of factors with the idea of proximity in the background of each one, meaning that the new outsourcing location is much closer to the country of headquarters, but also bringing all the traditional benefits of outsourcing. So if you're not sure what the benefits of outsourcing actually are, don't worry, we have three of the key ones here which are important to bear in mind. The first of which is time zones. Now, technical operations rely on clear communication, and if we look at the most common outsourcing locations like China, for example, time difference make any kind of troubleshooting or urgent communication dependent on really small windows of opportunity, which is really not ideal. Though on the other hand, nearshoring facilitates the United States and Latin American relations to allow more constant flows of communication, which means services such as tech development for smart recycling, like we mentioned before, maintains its fluidity and reduces the knock-on effects in the home country of the business as well. And in terms of innovation, politics and trade tariffs from the United States on China have meant that new opportunity is desperately needed for outsourcing businesses. And Latin America continues to show it can be a reliable alternative, and with regards to nearshoring, it's reported that the industry could actually be worth $72 billion to Latin American economy, which is pretty huge. And if we look at this with the free trade zones available there, Latin American innovation and its proximity with the United States really shows an alternative angle to nearshoring. As for business, it opens the door to benefits that were previously overlooked by these historic ties of interdependence. And now the final and probably the most important one to all of us is the cost. And decreased cost of freight, shipping and communication means more money to inject into other aspects of the business, like staff training or fortifying connections with the country where your nearshoring will be carried out, perhaps by travelling more often to meet with employees and also to maintain high standards and morale amongst the team, which is obviously really important too. So that's all for today, and thank you very much for listening, and please remember to like the video, share the video and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Until then, we will see you next time. Thank you for listening. Bye bye.